Do you believe dreaming big is only for kids? When we're young, we have wild imaginations, and many of us believe that we can be anything when we grow up. When I was 5 years old, I wanted to be a rock star. I had no formal training in playing instruments. I had no formal training in singing songs, and I had no problem imagining myself up on stage. I could see myself playing the guitar, beating on the drums, singing on the mic. As I got a little bit older, I set that dream aside for a new one. I wanted to be a professional athlete. Soccer, basketball, skateboarding, snowboarding. There were no limitations to what I thought was possible, and many kids around me felt the same way. But I had an advantage. I had an upper hand on the other kids. I had a dad that believed in me. He'd cheer me on while boosting my confidence. His most loving words came to me in letters during the holidays and on my birthday. I can remember the smile that would come across my face every time I saw one of his gifts coming my way. I knew that in there was one of those letters for me. Santa's gifts, they were good, don't get me wrong, but nothing compared to these letters of love from my father. I want to share with you one of my favorites. Ian, my son, I want you to know how proud I am to be able to say, my son. It's like wearing a bunch of medals of honor in the military. This young man right here, look him over. Check him out. Make your judgments. Evaluate him as a soul, as a spiritual entity, and as a human being. When you're all done, know I am the honored man that has been chosen for the one position in this lifetime as his father. As a boy, these words helped me reach for the impossible. Little did I know that over time, their value would continually increase. I didn't know just how hard things were for my dad at the time. The pain of his past had caught up to him, and he was spiraling out of control. Jail, mental health facilities, they became familiar destinations, and that rippled into the family. My parents split up, and after the divorce, the courts limited his access to me. This man that I loved, that I needed in my life, I only got to see him 2 days out of 14. I remember feeling the absence in the home. He wasn't there cheering me on or telling me to dream bigger. I remember laying in bed at night, my mind racing, that wild child imagination, just thinking of all sorts of scary things. I had to figure out what happened. I had to prevent it from ever happening again. Those big dreams, they started to fade away as stress and worry crept in. In my teen years, my dad was doing whatever he could to build stability in his life. He was going to school to become a counselor for drug and alcohol dependency when his teacher introduced him to something called men's groups. Gatherings where men come together to dive deeper than surface level. This was different than just getting together to have beers and talk about sports or work. They were coming together to talk about their feelings, their thoughts, their emotions, and help each other through their struggles. In my early 20s, I had a lot of exposure to these communities. And we often talked about our relationships with our fathers, the impact from our relationships with our fathers. A question that often came up was, what kind of beliefs did you take on because of your father's behavior? Every time I heard that question, it hit me a little bit different. I didn't quite get it at first. What do you mean my personal beliefs having anything to do with my father's behavior? But I stayed curious. And over time, hearing it once, and over and again, eventually it hit me. A belief I hadn't seen before. I'm not good enough. Of course, that brilliant child mind just trying to make sense of that which doesn't make sense. It's about me. If only I was a better kid, my dad would have been able to overcome any obstacle. And over the years, I've worked with thousands of people as a coach, organizing men's groups, facilitating retreats. This is something that I run into often. Young minds create stories to make sense of things. A made-up story is better than nothing because it gives the mind something to focus on. With this new awareness, everything changed. I started to see a web of beliefs everywhere. The world's dangerous. I can't trust anybody. There's not enough time. As I started to pay attention more, I could see that in many circumstances, my behavior was based upon these hidden beliefs. A 2019 study published in Frontiers in Psychology, researchers found that we hold limiting beliefs about ourselves we're not consciously aware of. The study underscored the importance of examining and challenging the beliefs we hold about ourselves. As I continued to practice, I started to see thoughts, habits, patterns that I could work with. I was catching outdated beliefs and moving them into something new. Thoughts connected to, I can't. I would switch them into, I can. And that led me to taking action. I wouldn't be standing here today if it wasn't for that skill. And with practice, my mind opened up to an early, big dream to become a professional snowboarder. With this ability to move from I can't to I can, I started to work with photographers and filmers. I was getting photos published in magazines and clips of me snowboarding in films. And time and time again, I would run into those outdated beliefs, those doubts, those worries. But like anything, with consistency, it happened. In my late 20s, at an age when most people retire from professional snowboarding or change their career, I was just getting started. I traveled the world getting paid to do what I loved. I had stories published in 5 different countries, 3 different languages. Companies paid me to produce films and just go on adventures with my friends. Our beliefs have a substantial impact on what we will create in this life, whether that's passion projects, business goals, or work-related tasks. A meta-analysis that analyzed data from 91 studies consistently found that the beliefs people hold about themselves is the strongest predictor of performance in academics, sports, and work-related tasks. By asking ourselves specific questions, we can become aware of self-limiting beliefs and change them. We can move from self-inflicted limitation to expansive potential. With curiosity, search for self-limiting beliefs hidden from you. Utilize your relationship with your father as a place to start this discovery. When you're done listening to this talk, I want you to grab your phone, find a quiet place, set a timer for 5 minutes, and record an audio note as you ask yourself this question. What self-limiting beliefs were created to make sense of my father's behavior? What self-limiting beliefs were created to make sense of my father's behavior? Be curious. Remember, We're looking in those hard-to-see areas of your mind, those hidden places. When we discover self-limiting beliefs, we reclaim the power to create the lives that we want. We open the door to dreaming big at any age. For some, that might mean attending that dance lesson you've been dismissing, or that art class that you've been thinking about. For others, my big dreamers, it might be following that path to be a rock star, a professional athlete, or an astronaut. My father once told me, "Ian, my son, your dreams for your future are founded upon the beliefs you entertain today."